Hello all, my name is Krishnayak and welcome to my YouTube channel. So guys, today in this particular video, we are going to discuss about the difficulties that I have actually faced working as a data scientist till now. I'm going to share some of my experience related to different companies, what all kind of problems that did I face, and probably people who are really aspiring to become a data scientist, and I think many of the people have got internships, you have got full-time jobs with respect to data science. It will definitely be helpful for you. So when I started my first project in data science, the first project was quite difficult for me, and obviously anybody who's working in that specific project, probably the first data science project, since you need to know everything related to data science, let it be the machine. I was working in the machine learning project in short. That project was pretty much important because in that project I faced a lot of difficulties. Apart from that, I also learned a lot of things from it. Now, why it was very difficult? Because understand, I think that project that I was working on was a retail project, okay, and definitely I did not had any domain knowledge on retail. And the type of problem statement that we are solving, you need to really have a good amount of knowledge with respect to that specific domain, because I'll tell you why. The type of data that you had got was completely raw, okay, and for the model preparation, the kind of data that you had to create, right? From the raw data, you really had to create those number of specific fields. I'm just talking about somewhere around 30 features, more than 30 features we derived from that raw data. And for deriving each and every feature, guys, there were a lot of mathematical formulas that were getting applied that was related to that specific domain. Okay, I cannot just go more in depth about that, what kind of problem statement was that, but really to do that specific work, it really took me a lot amount of time, because I was directly communicating with the domain expertise to understand each and every features, how we can actually create that, why that particular formula is that, how it actually works. And because of that, it really took me a lot of time. And our team was actually small, okay, and we were around 2 data scientists who were working with that specific project. And related to other people, there were some senior people, there were domain expertise people, and there was also a person who were actually working in business intelligence, right? But the main thing was that definitely to derive that guy and me, it took me a lot of time. Not only that, but the outcome of that was that we learned a lot of things. That was pretty amazing, and that, considering that as our first project, definitely gave us the path to do all the future project. Okay, but there were many scenarios where we faced more difficulty than that. But when you are actually doing it for the first time, you had a raw data, right, and you're just deriving new 30 to 40 features, right? It's pretty much amazing. So remember guys, domain expertise, domain knowledge is very much important. Whenever you are trying to do any kind of project, let the data set be very simple. You need to really understand about that specific domain, about that specific data, why it is. When you're using that specific data, can you minimize the number of features by creating a new derived feature, which will actually related to your dependent feature itself. So always try to work in that specific way. My first task in the industry was to create a regression problem statement, and for that particular problem statement I'll always remember, because there was the position where my feature engineering got very good, my feature selection strategy got very good, and this was only possible when you have some good amazing amount of domain knowledge. And domain knowledge we were gaining because I was around only 2 years experience at that time, so the interest towards that data science project will be pretty much higher. Then after that, there was one incident where I was working in one e-commerce project, not e-commerce, I think it was related to sales project, not sales, sorry, it was related to logistic project, yeah. So in that specific logistic project, again, see, whenever you get a new problem statement, initially I was working in a service based company, guys. I was not working in a product based company. If I was working in a product based company, I used to keep on working on a specific product for at least 2 to 3 years. But in the case of service based company, once you finish a project which is basically for 6 to 7 months, then after that you're put into another project which may be of completely different domain, right? So why I say that working in service and product based companies both are important. The best part that I felt when I was working as a data scientist, initially I spent a good amount of time in service based companies. Because of that, I understood that I just made up my mind that yes, whenever time comes, I really have to work on different projects on different domain itself, right? And I was ready for it. But when I went into the product based company, I found out a little bit much more easier, because if you are really working just one project on one specific domain for the whole year, probably in 2 to 3 months you will be getting comfortable with that specific domain itself and you'll be able to learn a lot. But in service based industry, this is the most challenging thing that I found out, that every 6 to 7 months your project gets changed, because the project delivery happens mostly in 6 to 7 months. Sometimes I've seen till 9 months, but mostly till at an average of 6 to 7 months you were delivering the project itself. So in service based companies, I've worked in retail, in traveling domain, in an e-commerce domain, and in logistic domain. Just imagine 4 different projects, which was pretty much amazing. The logistic domain was also very good, very important, because there we need to actually find out the raw materials that we need to acquire for the future production in a particular company, right? So it was pretty much amazing over there. And the strategies that was completely applied. Again, we had to actually sit along with the domain expertise person, make him our very good friend, and make him understand, or try to understand, that what are features are actually important to basically derive the forecasting, let it be the acquiring, the raw material acquiring forecasting within how many months. We used to literally ask him, since you are doing this work from 6 to 7 years, what do you think that during the winters, during heavy rainy seasons, during this particular season, he used to tell us, right? Usually this is the production capacity of various places with respect to that specific raw material. So a lot of knowledge. You gain a lot of knowledge with the domain expertise person. And to become a domain expertise, it will take a lot of amount of time. Remember, whenever you are solving a particular problem, and if you really want to become a domain expert, you should have worked in that specific problem statement for a pretty long period of time. Now, there were some incidents also where we wasted around 6 to 7 months on one project, and that never took off. Okay, that never took off. Because the major problem over there was that we did not have any domain expertise person over there. We were not able to gain more and more knowledge from that specific data. We had some raw data, but definitely deriving that raw data was not possible, because those were kind of diagnostic data altogether. They were coming from IoT devices and all, but we could not derive anything as such, right? And because of that, we had also lost around 6 to 7 months. My 2 projects that we did the deployment also failed. Literally, it got failed once it was made into production. So overall, guys, if you consider, I had actually done somewhere around 8 to 9 projects till now related to data science. 2 projects literally failed. It was because of various reasons. It was because of the team, the domain expertise person, the knowledge that we gained, the techniques that we applied while creating or modeling that particular specific model. As soon as it went, within 1 month, it started giving us very bad results. So we also had to scrap down the whole project. And there was one saying which I had read in one article, that 80 to 90% of the model does not get deployed. I'll not suggest 80 to 90%, guys. I would say 70 to 75% it will not get deployed, because there are a lot of things. Sometimes you again have to scrap that whole thing and come back and redevelop the whole thing based on the new information. So what happens is that once a model gets failed, once the deployment is there, then again there will be changes. There will be structural changes within the team. They'll try to find out, they'll try to brainstorm and find out that what went wrong, because we as a data scientist will not get the whole blame, because we try to create everything based on the information that we have from a domain expertise person, right? And based on that, we create the model, we do all the other related thing. So it is pretty much important that you also understand sometime this task that you have in the initial stage with respect to data collection, creating derived features, doing the feature engineering process, it should be very smooth, and it should be very good, guys. If you spend more amount of time over there, definitely your project will be going live within a shorter period of time. And you should really make your domain expertise a very good friend, because I told you, right, there were scenarios where we literally failed, right? It was a scenario that we were also about to get fired. The whole team was about to get fired. But our luck, it did not happen that, because when the brainstorming happened, they found out the root cause. And again, the root cause with respect to the knowledge, with respect to the data was also not sufficient, and by that they made a structural changes in the team, and again that project got started, and finally it got deployed. Okay, so again, that deployment is still running right now. It is running smoothly. But this is the thing that we learned, right? We learned. This is the thing that we did. Like, this kind of scenarios will obviously come with you. There were some scenarios where I was put into a completely new domain. There were not much domain expertise people also, and I really had to do something on through that project. Okay, the higher management was expecting that project a lot. We really had to sit down. We really had to brainstorm that particular thing. Whatever knowledge we could gather from that specific data, we tried to do something onto that, and we have created. I was also a part of that team, which we had actually created some amazing models with respect to that. This had really happened in my previous company, that is Panasonic IAC. In that particular scenario, yes, with the limited amount of domain knowledge, we were able to do a whole lot of things, which is again pretty much interesting. It was fun, because the amount of knowledge at that time, guys, the amount of confidence that I got, that even though with the limited amount of domain knowledge, we were able to create something amazing. That was the most happiest thing in my life, and that really led to the growth of knowledge, right? With respect to data science, it increased exponentially, right? We were really playing with millions and millions of data at that time. And just to derive that whole pipeline, it was pretty much amazing, guys. I'll suggest that was the most difficult thing that we did. With respect to designing things, because in all the other related projects we were having some kind of information, but there we were not having. We also tried to develop our own new machine learning algorithm. So I developed a new machine learning algorithm, with respect to pattern recognition, and we had actually done the deployment also. And probably now I'm not there in Panasonic ISC, but probably in the future it will be pretty much amazing, and it will be going live with respect to the work that we have done. So that was the most interesting work that I had done. It was pretty much amazing. Again, I'm telling you guys, because the amount of efforts that I had put in that, right? There was a scenario where I did not sleep full night, okay? Because the deadline was pretty much near. After 2 days, I had to submit that. I had to show that to a higher management, right? And it was pretty much important. So one night I did not sleep. I started thinking. I took some help from my friends, right? I took definitely some help from my friends who are good at this. They were actually guiding. They were telling that, Krish, can we do like this? Can we do something like this? Just to gain the knowledge. And I was not actually showing them the idea. I asked them how we can do this. How we can actually do this. Something related to this kind of questions. And finally, I was able to get some kind of help. And yes, finally we did it, and it was pretty amazing. When we showed it to the higher management, they were pretty much happy. They were actually, they were really impressed with the type of work we had actually done, and it was in very short period of time, guys. Probably within a couple of weeks, we were able to derive that whole machine learning algorithm, and yes, it was pretty much amazing in that itself. So in terms of learning, it was very good. A lot of difficulties apart from that we have faced, guys. Trust me, data science job, if everything is there, the task will be easier. But if you don't get sufficient amount of information from domain expertise, from people who are actually expert in that specific domain, right? Trust me, it will be difficult for you. You may know the process of the whole entire data science project itself, but if you don't have quality data, you will not be able to do anything as such. Even though you try to do everything, at the end of the day, it will fail. So whenever you are working in a specific project, after getting the data, don't just start. Okay, I've seen when people get the data set, they do all the feature engineering, feature selection. They don't actually put some amount of effort also to understand that data. They just do it, and they finally do the deployment. They tell the higher management, okay, this is the accuracy that we are getting. Sometimes the high management people also will not be having that much information like how this is specifically working. So you really need to make them understand in a better way. You really need to interact with the domain expert in a better way to gain more and more knowledge. You have to give them suggestion. Can we use this kind of features also? Can we use that kind of features also? Always remember that is your end goal. Okay, and you always have to keep that thing always in mind. Okay, there will be scenarios where you will be failing, where your model will completely give you very bad results. That time, one more point that I'll like to give you guys, every stage that you do, try creating some kind of reports. That reports will actually help you to take a decision, to tell the stakeholders like why did you take that particular step. Okay, it is pretty much important, because in one of the project where we failed, right, at the end of the day everybody came and asked us that how did it fail, why did you take this step, why did you take that step. At that time I had not done any kind of reporting, right? You need to create reports. Reports, what do I mean by reports? Create some statistical reports, use some statistical library. Like if I take an example of feature engineering, I'll create some amazing graphs with the help of EDA, exploratory data analysis. With respect to feature selection, I'll create some statistical reports. Why did I take that specific feature? Like that, those kind of reports are pretty much important at each and every stage of a data science project. Tomorrow, even though it fails, the stakeholder, when they come and ask, you should definitely show them you have the data, you have the whole reports. That's why you have taken that specific step. It is pretty much important, guys, to always follow that strategy, because at the end of the day, if the project fails, everybody will be coming to you, why did you take that step? They'll ask that particular question. So it is always necessary to create reports, do each and every step, and then tell them that what was the reason that you did, why was the reason that you took that specific step also. So this was all from my side. Again, people who are actually planning to go into data science, the job, let it be with respect to any technology, guys, the job will be difficult everywhere, and definitely with respect to data science also it will be difficult. I've told you about what is the importance of domain expert, domain knowledge, that will derive the whole feature. If you have that, trust me, nobody can actually stop you for making that project go in live, okay, in the deployment part, in the deployment stage itself. So yes, this was all about from this particular video, guys. I hope you like it. Please do subscribe the channel if you are not already subscribed. I'll see you all in the next video. Have a great day. Thank you and all. Bye bye.